Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing great today. In today's video, we're going to continue from where we stopped, using the where clause. But today we're going to start with adding another comparison operator between and. So let's look at the query on our screen. It says, select all from employees where salary between 9,000 and 24,000. So what we're asking to retrieve is all employees that their salary falls between the range of 9,000 and 24,000. So if we execute this query, we see that we have, let's right click and then click on count rows, 27 rows. Okay, but what if I put the lower limit before the upper limit? Let's try that and see. That's 24,000 and then 9,000. So if we execute this query, you discover that we have no record. So at every point in time, you want to use the between and with the where clause, you have to put the lower limit first and then the higher limit. So I'm going to return this query back to what it was, 9,000 and then 24,000 and execute. Now we have back our result. Now let's look at another example using the in operator with the where clause. So if you look at the query, we have select all from employees where salary in 10,000, 25,000, 17,000. So what we're asking to retrieve is all employees whose salary fall within this range, 10,000, 25,000, and 17,000. Now you would have observed that the order is really not followed when using the in operator. So it doesn't matter which of the value comes first. The order is really not important. I execute this query and then you see we have 6 employees that their salary actually falls within this range. Okay, 10, 10, 10, 10, 17, 17, and there's nobody that has the salary up to 25,000. Now let's look at another example using the like operator. The like operator actually makes use of the ampersand or the underscore. So if you look at the query on our screen, let's try to execute it first so we can understand. Now, what this query simply does is to retrieve all employees whose first name starts with S and followed by any other character. So this is like a character pattern matching. Okay, so if I do this, I'm simply saying retrieve all employees whose first name begins with an S and then any other character can follow. From our query output, we can see that we have all employees whose first name begins with S and then they have any other character that follows. Let's look at another example to further understand. Okay, so if we look at this query, what we are simply saying is retrieve all details of employees whose first name begins with any character but ends with S. So let me try to execute this query. And you can see we have employees whose first name begins with any character but they must end with S. So let's look at another example. Okay, now we have the underscore and then we have D and the like operator. So what we are saying is select all from employees where the first name has D as the second letter. Let's execute this query and then see the output. So we have D as the second letter. Okay, so let's see the next example with the next operator. Now, if you look at the query we have here, it says select all from employees where commission percentage is null. Remember, we have said before that null are also values. They are not zero. They are not spaces. Okay, they are also recognized by the Oracle database as values. So if you execute this query, you have a list of employees without commission. So you can see the commission percentage, everything is null. We can also rewrite this query to mean is not null. Okay, we selected for employees with null values for their commission percentage. Now let's look at the employees that do not have null values in their commission, which means employees that have commissions actually. So I will execute this query. And then you can see we have 35 employees with commission percentage ranging from 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.25, just like that. Now let's look at another example using the logical operators and, or not. These operators can also be used with the where clause. So to enable you to understand this, I'll quickly run this query. Now the query says select employee underscore ID, last name, job ID, salary, department ID from employees where salary is greater than or equal to 10,000 and department ID is 90. Now we have two conditions. If you're using the AND operator, the AND logical operator, both conditions must be met for you to have a query output. I'll repeat this again. If you are using the AND logical operator, both conditions must be true for the query to retrieve any result. So let's execute this query and see what the output will be. So we have just 3 records. King, his department ID is 90 and his salary is greater than 10,000. Kocha, his department is 90, his salary is greater than 10,000. Dehan, his department is 90, his salary is greater than 10,000. So these 3 employees actually fulfill this condition and this condition. That's why we are having this. And take note, it's because we are making use of the AND logical operator. So let's rewrite this query and see if we can use the OR operator and see what happens. Wow, so we have more people actually meeting the condition. Count rows, and then we have 19. Now let me try to explain what is happening here. If you're using the OR logical operator, as long as one of the conditions is met, you will get a query output. You don't have to necessarily satisfy both conditions. Just one condition is enough to give you a result. So if anybody meets this condition, we'll have that person's details in the output. If anybody meets this condition, we'll have the person's details in the output. If anybody meets both conditions, good and fine. You will have the person's details in the output. So let's carefully examine the query output. King actually satisfies both conditions. His salary is greater than 10,000 and then he works in department 90. The same thing with Kocha, the same thing with Dehan. However, if you look at Greenberg, the only condition he met was his salary greater than 10,000. His department is not department 90, as in this case. His department is 100. So because he fulfills this condition, that's why we are having his details here. And then also, if you look at Russell, Russell's department is not 90, it's 80. But because he met this condition of salary being greater than 10, that's why we are also having the details here. Let's look at King. King has a salary that is equal to 10,000. That means he met only this condition because his department is department 80, department ID 80. So the difference between the and the or operator is very simple. If you are using the and operator, all conditions must be met. All conditions must be met. All conditions must be true for you to have an output. But if you're using the or operator, just one condition is enough to give you a query output. Okay, so let's look at the final example for today. Now look at this query. We have select employee ID, last name, job ID, salary, department ID, commission percentage from employees where salary is greater than 2,000. That's the first condition. And department ID in 60, 90. That's the second condition. And commission percentage is null. This is the third condition. So we have three conditions. For us to have a query output, it means all employees must satisfy these three conditions for us to have their query output. So let's quickly execute this and then see what the result is. You see, so we have just 8 employees meeting these three conditions. Okay, you can look at this employee here. The first employee, his salary is greater than 2,000. And then his department ID is actually in the set of values specified with the in operator. And then also his commission percentage is null. The same thing with all the other employees. Okay, this one, salary is greater than 2,000. Department ID is 90, which is within the range of value, the set of values we set in the in operator. And then his commission percentage is null. So again, I showed you another example using the and operator. All conditions must be met. So thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope this video was interesting to you. If it was, kindly like it and share it widely. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you in my next video with some other examples. Bye for now.